Welcome everyone to episode 135 of Raw Sport. My name is Ahmed Al Hooli. We are back with another huge show with a very special guest, Mr. Dmitriy Salita. Dmitry, welcome to Raw Sport.
Thank you. Great to be on.
Dmitry, Detroit historically has been a huge boxing city. Um, what does Detroit mean to the sport of boxing historically, and what does it mean to you personally?
Well, Detroit is one of the historic hometowns of boxing. I've trained there with the legendary Emmanuel Stewart towards the end of my professional career. Uh, Trained in the legendary Kronk Gym, which was really run by him and his nephew Sugar Hill Stewart, who is now the trainer of Tyson Fury, of many other great fighters. So, being in the gym, I saw a lot of talented fighters, world class fighters. But when I went to the fights, to the events, it the uh, didn't look like the the card the talent in the gym, the spectacle in the gym was equal to what you saw at the fights. So I had already started promoting events at that point of my career, and um, it was the kind of these ideas started to form in my mind, and uh, then when I really started doing this full time, I started to stage events in Detroit, and it's been a great platform for the sport of boxing. And I really believe that we are rejuvenating it one show at a time.
What are the biggest challenges in reviving a fight city like Detroit in today's boxing landscape?
So one of the biggest challenges to get a consistent TV streaming partner to make sure that uh, that the events and the fights can be consistent and the venues can be consistent. And we've just entered into a deal with 313 Presents, which is uh, the company that runs all the premier venues in the city of Detroit. Little Caesars Arena, which is where Clarissa Shields fought, is one of them. We did an event at Fox Theater, which is a historic, beautiful, beautiful venue in downtown Detroit. They also manage many of the top major league sports teams in town. So to have that crossover promotion is really incredible and very valuable. And we look forward to marching down that road again. And Detroit, the, it is kind of linked to Puerto Rico because Puerto Rico is another place that have produced so many great fighters, and it's been kind of forgotten over the last several decades. But produced some of the greatest fighters in the sport of boxing, like Miguel Cotto and Felix Trinidad, and the list goes on.
Absolutely. Um, how important are venues like the Fox Theatre in reconnecting boxing with the city's identity?
Very important because the venues and uh, the venues have a flavor, have a local city flavor. The Fox Theater is one of the most beautiful venues that I've ever been to anywhere in the country, and uh, when you just walk in there, it's just so incredible. When I was a kid growing up in New York City, this is in the late '90s, and you go into the Madison Square Garden, the theater Madison Square Garden, for the Golden Gloves. It inspires you. It overtakes your spirit, and you, as a fan, you want to go check it out. As a boxer, you want to work hard to one day fight him at Square Garden. So it's very important for the growth of boxing in Detroit or in any venue for there to be consistency and for there to be venues that inspire, that um, bring additional depth to the events.
Hey, Dimitri, there, mate. We've lost you, unfortunately. Dimitri?
Thank you.
Yep. So, how you've made the transition from fighter to promoter? What's been harder, stepping in the ring or building fights outside of it?
Well, they both have different challenges. Uh, Stepping in the ring is one of the most hardest thing anyone could do. It takes a certain drive and a certain chip on your shoulder to be able to do it to the best of your ability on a world-class level, uh, and to be so focused and so determined. Being a promoter presents other challenges. Business, I think any business, but certainly boxing, which is very unique and has a very really small window of folks that are really can compete at the top and can make a business out of it. So I really believe that I have an advantage, even though you know it's kind of been the five families, so to say, for lack of a better example, that have run the sport for such a long time. Uh, uh, Obviously Aram and King, who's no longer, Heyman, who comes from the music business. Matchroom, even, it's Barry Hearn, who's established a business, been around Queensbury with Frank Warren, and I'm not saying anything. This is not saying anything negative about them, but I'm just the relationships that they've built and the kind of the division of the market uh, has been so difficult to get into and to get opportunities and to get breaks and to sign the right kind of fighters. And you know, first of all, one of my strengths and uh, uh, unique abilities is that I've been signed to some of the best promoters in the sport. My first promoter was Top Rank. Signed with them when I was 19 years old in 2001. Got a chance to fight in some of the biggest undercards in the sport of boxing, and really got a chance how they operate. When I believe was the peak of their operational. Bob Arum was one of the greatest promoters of all time, maybe the greatest promoter of all time, just in terms of running a business. Then I was with Lou DiBella, um, and then I was with Square Ring, uh, and then fought for Golden Boy a little bit, although I wasn't signed to them. And all these different ways of doing business uh, formulated in my mind. Uh, and then I started to promote events. First, when I was still fighting, and slowly progressed into business. I saw a lot of potential for it, and I'm very grateful and blessed that that I feel that first of all, I feel that I have a world class team that's the best in the sport outside the ring, truly. And I feel that with my knowledge and experience uh, and unique relationship to the sport of boxing, and the magic happens when you connect the business to the sport, because there's certain details that make the difference, that make a difference for the fighter, make a difference for the fan, and the only way to know it is to experience it. So I really believe that I bring a unique perspective and something that can improve the sport of boxing for the fighters and for the fans and for the events that we put together.
Let's break that down a bit deeper. The sport
Sure.
is the sport has historically been really built this perception where the promoters in the sport are too short-sighted. They're too focused on the short-term money over long-term legacy and the building of these entities. How are you going to do it differently?
Well, actually, great question. And your first question answers this question, because the events that we didn't put in Detroit didn't make any money, many of them. They were all an investment into the fighters that we promote. Uh, you know, uh, I signed Clarissa in the beginning of her career before women's boxing was, as big of a business as it is now. And I believed that she has the skills and the personality and the story to be one of the greatest athletes of all time. And uh, and she uh, and obviously that was an investment, and you know belief before it became a business, right? And we're very blessed that women's boxing has grown to to the level that it's grown, and largely it is because of Clarissa's success and because she was the front runner. Not to take anything away from all the other great women like uh, Lucia Riker and Christy Martin and Layla Ali that have also contributed to the sport. But it's really Clarissa Shields that made it mainstream. And then obviously Katie Taylor and Serrano and some of the other prospects and contenders, and all have great stories and are very talented. And what I'm saying is not taking anything away from them, but like great athletes like Jackie Robinson and Muhammad Ali and Michael Jordan, they take the sport to the next level. And Clarissa's was one of those great, unique generational talents that took the sport to the next level. Jarrell Miller is another guy that I've had early in my career, that I've had him from really from the beginning of his career. So there was a lot of investment made into his career. Many of the guys that I signed, like Vladimir Shishkin, who became the mandatory, Shoji Gashev, and Nikolai Potapov. I mean, the list goes on, and I'm very grateful that we were able to take these fighters from really Jermaine Franklin, Otto Whalen, uh, that we take them from really uh, uh, being virtually unknown and giving them some of the biggest and the best fights in the sport of boxing, certainly the biggest and the best paydays of their careers. So to get them to that point takes an investment, takes belief, and takes trust. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't happen. But so far, thank God, it happened for many of the fighters that we represent.
Dimitri, interesting those names you mentioned. You got stars and you have A class rated opponents, especially like your Otto Wallens of the world and so on. So, how does a promoter balance the two worlds with the overall business? People are looking from the outside in, right? You're a promoter. How do you balance those two? Building champions and having A class and B grade opponents.
Well, it's a great question. Try to tell you generally.
Yeah,
Um, Yesterday we had a great event in Puerto Rico on the zone. Big Time
yeah,
Boxing USA was Big Time Boxing Puerto Rico last night.
yeah.
And in the main event, Joshua Pagan, who I signed from the beginning of his career, Fort Montgomery, who was a very tough, uh, decorated amateur, decorated pro, very, very good fighter. I believed that Josh had the skills and the ability to beat him in a tough fight, and that's what he needed to take the next step in his career, to be a world champion that I believe he has the skills to be. But matchmaking someone is a process, and step by step, and in the right direction. If you take a kid who has all the talent in the world to be the best surgeon, uh, who's in high school, and you put him in an operating room, he's gonna get scared. He's not gonna know what to do. He's gonna lose his confidence, and he may, and if he's made to operate, he may do something terrible to the patient, right? So he's not gonna have the skills, the knowledge, or the experience to live up to his potential. But if he finishes high school and then goes to college and goes to medical school, goes to residency, and goes through the steps that have been laid out for a doctor to become a great doctor, he's going to save many lives and make a lot of money and become and live up to his potential. So boxing is a science. It's not a let's see, let's can you beat this guy? It's not um,
A
Rock'em
guessing
Sock'em
game.
Robots. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
Rock'em Sock'em Robots. You know what I mean?
Mm.
With that being said, the fighters have to do their part and have to pass the test and have to graduate. It's Joshua Pagan last night is a great example. He had to be this much better to win. If he wasn't this much better, he would have lost. It was a very competitive, back and forth rock'em sock'em fight. So uh, um, that's one side of it, right? So that those are the contenders that you believe are going to be champions, right? Then there's so Otto Whalen, as an example, fought Tyson Fury and gave him one of the biggest and toughest fights of his career, and it was a life-changing payday for Otto, and he did a great job. And the reason how I able to make that happen, uh, it was through having relationships with different people in the industry and knowing what was going on and different opponents that were falling in and falling out. And, you read the press, and there's one thing that you read in the news. There's a whole different world outside of it that's happening behind the scenes. And I called Bob Arum because I knew that the fights were falling off, and I called Arum and we made a deal and it took a little to negotiate, and Otto got that opportunity. When Jermaine Franklin lost to Dillian White, again, by the way, another fight that I felt was important for Jermaine to make, and Jermaine initially didn't want to take it, but I really believed that it was the right fight at the right time for Jermaine. Right, so sometimes you have to kind of take these risks and do your best to make sure that the athlete that you work with trusts in the process and does what he has to do. But I thought he won the fight, but he lost, right? Then I lobbied very hard with Eddie to um, to make Jermaine Anthony Joshua's opponent instead of Dillian White or instead of somebody else. And Eddie took to my persuasion, and Jermaine fought Dillian White and Anthony Joshua. And in his last fight, he won Ivan Dichko, another fight that I made. And the folks that were making the fight, I told them, I'm just letting you know, Jermaine is probably going to beat Ivan Dichko. And he did. And the reason why, because I know the sport of boxing. I know what I'm looking at most of the time. I'm not perfect, but most of the time I know what I'm looking at. I know what matches. I know what things look like. And so based on that and based on the fighter's performance, I've navigate their careers. When opportunities that are too good to be true come up, and you obviously have to speak to the fighter and the teams, and there are opportunities either for a world title or for these mega fights. Jarrell Miller versus Anthony Joshua is another fight that I've made. It didn't come to fruition, not because of my doing, but because Jarrell failed the drug tests. But it's the fight that I've made, and it was it was life-changing money for Jarrell. And again, I believe it was a fight that Jarrell had a chance to win. Here's why: because Anthony Joshua, who by the way I think is a phenomenal athlete and a great icon for the sport of boxing, I'm a fan of Anthony Joshua. But Anthony Joshua, I could see as being I could read his mentality, and him being away from home, fighting thousands of miles away at Madison Square Garden. He didn't really have a safety net, and Jarrell at that time, very physical, in your face, plays with your mind. I really believe that Anthony didn't have the tools to deal with it. I wasn't sure that Jarrell was going to win, but I thought that it was a very likely and it was a great chance. And and Andy Ruiz got that opportunity instead of Jarrell, and and it turned out to be what it turned out to be. Clarissa Shields. I read about Clarissa Shields in the newspaper before she won a second Olympic gold medal, and thought that she had all the skills, the story, to be the next big star in the sport of boxing. Clarissa Shields, to me, is bigger than any male fighter today. She is a generational talent because of what she's accomplished for things beyond the sport of boxing. It's unprecedented and will never be done again. And I'm saying this, Clarissa is a free agent now. She's not signed to me. So I'm just saying this, not as a promoter, but just as someone in the boxing business. The things that Clarissa has done for women's sports and for women's culture will never be done again. She's Muhammad Ali, Jackie Robinson, Michael Jordan. She's a generational athlete, and was very grateful of many things that we've accomplished together, and many glass ceilings. And the last fight, where she sold over 15,000 tickets and sold a gate of over $1.5 million in the city of Detroit, and I think it's the biggest event in Detroit boxing, I think ever. I mean, I don't know, maybe 50 years ago. I don't know that far back, but in terms of fans and excitement and Rick Ross walking around, it was phenomenal. It was tremendous, and it was like, I see that you have Dmitriy Salita brings boxing back to Detroit. That was it. That was the moment. That was the moment when I was in the ring, and Rick Ross was singing Clarissa out into the ring, and the fans were going wild, and I was like, my God, man, thank you, God, this is really happening,
It's back.
and it's back. It's back.
Last one from me. There's a perception out there that in today's world, the promoters are more focused on building their brands instead of the fighters,
Oh,
due to fighters moving around too much, and that loyalty of working with that promotional company long term has sort of fizzled out. What are your thoughts on this?
beautiful question. Thank you. Yes, you're right.
Oh wow, we lost him. Jeez. We
Here we go. Yes,
yes.
yes, you are correct. I mean, I look at Eddie Hearn's interviews and I enjoy them. He does great interviews. Like I like watching Eddie Hearn talk about Dana White and talk about boxing and just talk about all things. Just because he's like a talk show, right?
Yeah.
So I enjoy that. Um, looking at the UFC, I know that there's John Jones, and I know there's Conor McGregor. I don't know any other UFC fighter. I can't say that I'm a fan, but I know that there's the UFC, and I know if I go to the UFC event, it'll probably be a lot of fun, and you know, and there'll be some great fights. But I don't know the individuals that are the UFC, right? So, uh, you know, uh, uh, a lot of other promoters like Oscar De La Hoya is a great fighter, and he actually does a great, he does a great job. And I enjoy Clapback Thursdays that he does, right?
Yeah.
So there is a balance between the promoter has to have a brand, right, and has to have presence, uh, so that so that people can know what he does and what he represents. So but our industry differentiator, and one of the reasons why we've had the success that we've had, is that we're about the fighters. I'm about the fighters. The press conference is about the fighters. Uh, I don't have anything to say besides introducing the fighters, and letting them and telling their stories and focusing on them and focusing on their progress. Um, and as a promoter has to have some visibility, right? Has to have some promotion, some advertisement, just so that the fighters that he represents know that he's speaks for them, and can speak on certain issues. But you know, but you don't have to be a celebrity, uh, and and uh, uh, and again, no one is perfect, right? But if you look back at Bob Arum, he would give interviews just in relationship to certain issues that needed to be addressed. So I kind of looked at that um, as something that I can associate with. I, a lot of times you see promoters speaking about other people's business and commenting on other people's fights, and if it doesn't affect you, you know what do you have to say about it? Unless it affects you, right, or affects the greater health of the sport. But um, I believe 100% very strongly that promotions and promotion companies have to be fighter centric, and fighters, uh, uh, and telling the stories of the fighters and promoting them and their brands and giving them the greatest visibility to make fans, to make money, to make the biggest and the best fights, and to build their brands, hopefully well beyond their careers.
Wow. There you go. Dmitry, you have been amazing. I want to thank you very much for taking the time to join me. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Um, any parting words for us?
Thank you so much. I believe it's the first time that I'm on your show, and
Yeah.
I love talking boxing, and we'll look forward to coming back.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all who tuned in. Take care, everyone. We'll catch you on the next episode of Raw Sport. Take care. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.